Hi there, BookTube. I'm sharing my very first weekly wrap up in way too long. Since I have a lot to say about all the books that I read between the 12th and the 18th of June, and the first book I read is Anything is Possible by Elizabeth Strout. This is a short story collection where all these short stories in companion with the other book that Elizabeth Strout wrote and that came out last year, that is My Name is Lucy Barton. Since Anything is Possible follows the side characters that are mentioned in My Name is Lucy Barton. So for one, don't read Anything is Possible if you have not yet read My Name is Lucy Barton, because you will have no idea who anybody is. Just saying. I got this specific book through NetGalley, but of course that doesn't influence my option at all, as you can tell in just a second when I begin my review about this. I gave this book 2.5 stars because to me this book just felt very, very unfinished and raw, and as if it was a draft of the book instead of the actual finished copy of an edited book. It didn't feel completed to me. The writing and the sentences were very strangely short and not at all as if they were easy to flow and connect with each other. And what I mean by that is that you clearly noticed when one sentence ends and the next one starts, and that is just not how I personally enjoy my reading. I like writing more if you don't notice exactly where these sentences are and when I read them. For me, this missed the easy flow of the story. It missed the point where you get sucked into the flow of the plot of the story of the characters, because the very strangely interruptive writing kept pushing me out of what the story was trying to tell me. The characters were certainly interesting, but even they felt like they were missing. Maybe I just had this problem because I'm not a big short story collection lover. I just never found one that works for me. I'm a big book kind of person. I need long stories. I need an actual explanation of what is going on. This book doesn't give that, so that was just not working for me. And maybe it's the author and her writing that doesn't work for me. Maybe it's just this specific book that doesn't work for me. I don't know. It's just, sadly, this book was not what I expected. The second book I read this week was Moonshot by Alexandra Torre. I have no idea how to say her last name, I'm so sorry. And this is a baseball sport romance book about Taylor, who more or less grew up with the team since her dad is part of the team, shortly before Taylor turns 18 and the team gets a new player, where of course a romantic relationship starts, and it's a romance, so of course you need the main character Taylor to have a love interest, and you get that in the new player. This book was mostly what I wanted from it, so I gave it 4 stars. It was highly entertaining for a romance, even though it had some strange crime aspects that made no sense to me, and the plot and the characters and how the story evolved could have gone exactly the same way if the author would have left those murdering aspects out of the story. So I did not get at all why she added those. It was nothing horrendous, and you can't overlook those crime elements, and if you do, you get an entertaining romance. Really get this nice sport aspects in this book, where Taylor is very sporty herself. She understands the game, she plays it very well, so well that Yankee players themselves notice that she really can throw a baseball, so that was wonderful to see. I also enjoy that Taylor and her father have this really nice father-child relationship. Great to see a loving parent-child relationship in a book, since we get those so rarely. The writing itself was nice, easy to read, not at all trying to be more than it was. It's a romance book. You don't want to add new words to vocabulary when you read it. You just want something easy and fast. Overall, it was okay, and if you completely, and I mean really completely, ignore the crime elements in this book, this was really nice and entertaining and a wonderfully great sport romance. So if you're interested in that, highly recommend this book, and you guys should check it out. The next book I read is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I showed this book in my library haul that I posted, so I will link that if you're interested. Hint, hint. This book is about an old man that tries to catch a fish but is not successful for months until he finally catches this big, huge swordfish. But instead of managing to kill the fish and drag it into his boat, the fish drags the old man in the boat out into the open ocean. This is my first Hemingway ever, and honestly, it was just okay. Understand that Hemingway was trying to draw this big comparison between this stubborn old man and the world and all of that. bad. I get it. For me, this book was about this horrendously horrible old man that was way too stubborn for his own good and that simply could not give up the fight that he clearly was losing, but instead of giving up, cutting the line that the fish was still holding on to and could not let go. The fish couldn't let go, so the old man had to do it, but he just wouldn't, and it drove me insane to read that, and I hated it when sharks started coming and he just kept killing these sharks for no reason whatsoever. And why was this book so utterly brutal towards animals? What did fish ever do to Hemingway that he was so hurtful to them? It's just, I am not a fan of unnecessary animal killings, especially since the old man only does it to keep a fish he clearly didn't deserve anyway. And the old man just keeps on killing at least 4 sharks in this book and lets them sink and doesn't care about them. Why doesn't he just let these swordfish go and keep one of the sharks that he has on a hook? I don't get it, because in this book we are told that they can equally prepare shark flesh as any other fish flesh. So why doesn't he just cut the swordfish loose and keeps the shark? Why? I don't understand. All in all, this book was okay, but I wish it would have been something more special and something less fish killy and just something more. And I gave it 2.5 stars, and I will try another Hemingway in the future, but for now this was just not my thing. And why did he kill so many sharks? Moving on from that, the next book I read was A Wonderful Dawn, and that was the favorite book of this week, if not the year, and that was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by J.K. Rowling, and this is the original screenplay for the movie. I will only say here that I love this book and gave it 5 stars because I did a whole separate review video about this book so if you're interested to hear my thoughts about this, please check out that, and I will link it everywhere, and please watch that. The next book I read, The Blinding Knife by Brand Weeks. This is the second book in the Lightbringer series. I buddy read this with Courtney, and since she's a fellow booktuber, I will link her channel so that you guys can check her out if you're interested. It was wonderful to have a buddy to read this with because I had quite a lot of issues with it. Yeah, this book was just Anyway, the first book in this series is about Gavin, who is Prism, which basically means that he is the most powerful man in this world. But prisms never last long, and when Gavin discovers that he has a son, he must decide how much he is willing to do to protect his secrets that he tried to keep for years. I think that is how I would describe this first and second book. This book is hugely popular on BookTube and comes highly recommended, and I have to say that I'm a bit, and by that I mean completely, underwhelmed by the series up until this second book. While the writing itself is fantastic, the world building lacks completely in my opinion. We just get thrown into this world, thrown into these characters' perspective, and we don't get any explanation. We never get explained how the magic works, how the world works, how everything came to be the way as it is right now. We never get any real explanation, not in the first book, not in the second one. And I have so many questions about basically everything that happens in this book and the first one, and it's just, I'm confused. I'm confused by the characters, I'm confused by the plot, about what the heck is going on in this book, in the first one, and what is happening, and why is nobody else talking about how confusing the series is. How can everybody else understand what is happening? And I'm sitting here and have no clue what is going on. I don't get it. And I personally just don't see why so many people love this. Kind of want to reread the first one and this one right away, simply to maybe get what I missed and catch it this time, because I had to have missed something huge that explains everything that everybody else noticed, but I didn't. I gave this book 3 stars, mostly because the writing itself was compelling and the first half of it wasn't too bad, and the ending left this book in a place where I personally feel okay leaving the series for now, so that worked out okay, but overall I don't get it. I'm confused. I need somebody to explain this book to me, please. Thank you. Moving on to the first very, very small thing I have here, and that is Magische Liebe mit Todesfolge by Markus Semke. And this book, I would translate the title to My Magic Love with Deadly Consequences, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. I won this through a Goodreads giveaway, and this book was pretty bad. The book itself says it's about a witch and a wizard. When they want to deepen their relationship, they get attacked by another wizard and the story evolves from there. But honestly, how much evolving can there be in 76 pages? The biggest issue I had with this is that there are quite a few of spelling errors in this book, and honestly I am a dyslexic, so if I noticed, it has to be pretty bad to notice. And then this book is an Harry Potter fanfic, and I'm not just saying this. The female main character, he added a picture, the actress that plays Ginny in the Harry Potter movies. So what the heck? What? Yeah, no. If you have this book lying around because you want it or something, just no. I'm all for people publishing their own work and all of that, but please don't copy Harry Potter in the biggest way and publish horrendous fanfiction. Let the people that can actually write do that. And I'm so sorry, Markus Semke, but no. I gave 1 star to that. I should not have to tell you guys how many stars I gave this, because clearly bad one. Moving on from that, I read The Red Pony by John Steinbeck, and this is another American modern classics writer I wanted to give a try, and apparently I had to put them all in 1 week, because that is what I do. This book was okay, but I didn't love it. This is a short little book about 4 short stories, which once again, my bad. I did not know that this was 4 short stories. I would not have picked it up if I knew that beforehand, but I didn't. The first story in this is about a little boy named Jody that gets a red pony to rise and train, and he falls in love with it basically instantly and is so happy to have it. But then Steinbeck happens, and if you don't know what that means, you're very lucky. And if you do know what that means, you know what happens to the pony. The second story in this book is about a strange old man that suddenly comes up to the range that Jody lives on and decides that he was going to live there now for no reason whatsoever, and instead of straight of telling the guy to leave, Jody's parents let him stay in a spare room, and one day the guy leaves and steals a horse on the way out, and I have no idea what the story had to do with anything at all. The third story in this book is about a new pony that Jody was promised by his father. When Mare, that is currently carrying the pony that Jody is supposed to get, gives birth, something happens yet again, and the horse that is not very nice, but very Steinbeck. The fourth story and the last story, thankfully, in this book is about Jody's grandfather visiting the ranch, and he wants to tell his stories, but Jody's parents are not interested, understandably, don't want to sit down and listen to stories they already know. So Jody apparently has grown up so much through those other 3 stories that are told in this book that he suddenly is such a wonderfully cute and nice boy that he decides to sit down and listen to his grandfather's stories instead of running around and doing stupid things that he did in the first 3 books. Really didn't get what this book was all about, because Steinbeck could have made this even shorter than it actually is by just saying animals get killed by people. People are generally mean and hurtful to other people, and children grow up after a while. Hey, I managed to say something that Steinbeck took over 90 pages to in 3 short little sentences. Wow, look at that! I could have wrote a short story thing. This was not good, but it wasn't horrendous. But I think that Steinbeck has better works, and if you sit down and read Steinbeck, read something else by him. Those were all the pretty bad books I read during the week. I hope this week will be better, because yeah, it can't get much worse. I mean, I love Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. All in all, not the best reading week. I hope yours was better. I would love to hear about it. Please let me know what books you read during the week, and if you read any of the books I just talked about, please let me know in the comments. I would love to chat with you there, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. Something where it just could